Audio test. Audio test. All right, we're streaming. Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, March 24th, a little bit after 3 p.m., 3:05 or so. Um, Today, I want to just quickly cover in the next hour and how to complete that design for Best Buy. Sorry, not Best Buy. That was last week. JetBlue. And the PDF is in Google Classroom, Module 2. And here's a quick look at the PDF. First page is just the logo, but the second page is what we're really focusing on. The left side is the preview of the design, and this is actually the real JetBlue.com mobile form. Has a header across the top, has a little headline, has what I'm going to call the icon bar with flights in hotels, hotels in cars, and then a form with basically a submit button, but a search flights button, and a little link at the bottom. I'm going to loosely call that the footer. And on the third page of the PDF is just a quick thing about the color palette, the specific blue, the specific orange, an indicator that there's a little bit of opacity going on. Dropping white down to 70%. You can see that in the icon bar. And there's a light gray and a gray value. And we're going to utilize Roboto from Google Fonts, even though it's not the actual font that they're using. Just getting going. I'm on Slack. And if you have any questions, please ask away. I'm going to quickly share the Hack Upstate YouTube channel address. Let's see if I can just whoop. And where is the video? Well, hopefully someone will post the video, but let me see if we can get the actual video posted. It's the live video. Yep, live now, careers in code, classroom. There we are. Perfect. All right. Anyways, let's get going. I don't want to take too much of your time this afternoon. I want this to be an hour or less. And you are not, I really don't want you to follow along and build it with me. No. This is to clarify any questions or answers or any problems that you've had along the way. I really wanted you to attempt this design yourself yesterday, Friday, Saturday, or earlier today, and then quickly watch me plow through it quickly and see maybe see where you got stuck, and maybe seeing me blast through it, you can get unstuck. And please ask your questions on Slack along the way. I will check into Slack every, 5 minutes or so and see if I can answer questions. But don't attempt to do this with me from complete scratch. All right, speaking of which, complete scratch, it's time to create a new project folder. And I'm going to create, in our Careers in Code Module 2 folder, a new folder called JetBlue. And I type into JetBlue. Sorry, I don't type into JetBlue. I take that JetBlue folder and I drag it into VS Code. And the main purpose of doing that is, one, it opens up the nice little file explorer in the top left corner, allowing you to do things. But now that you're into command line stuff, the terminal, the built-in terminal to VS Code, it starts, if I do a pwd in my terminal, it starts wherever that folder is. If I didn't drag the folder in, then I would have to manually change directory and go into users, jpassetti, desktop, careers in code, module 2, JetBlue. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. So don't do that. Okay, so let's get into it. You know what? I'm gonna switch gears from like not creating files up here by hitting the add file or new file or the new folder. I'm gonna try to discipline myself and work exclusively in the terminal as much as possible with our new commands. Like so, pwd, I'm in JetBlue. Here comes touch space index.html. And what that does is creates a brand new file. You can see it show up in my top left corner here, index.html. While I'm here, I'm going to make a directory, make dir, a CSS directory. I'm going to make directory an images folder. And yeah, I think that's good for right now until I get into it. And here comes index.html, your keyboard shortcut to create that the scaffolding for basic HTML5 W3C compliant document is exclamation point tab. Oh, love that, rocking and rolling. And I'm going to call this Jet Blue in the title, and I'm going to type in the word link. Tab builds me out the relationship in the hyperreference. The hyperreference is incomplete. Here comes css/style.css, and I'll put something in the body, something in the body. Okay, so this would be a perfect time to not go any further and get Sass going. Sass is not an afterthought, as well as responsive web design is not an afterthought, but for tonight's little demo, we're going to focus just with Sass, and we're not going to get too much into responsive web design. So to get Sass going, first I'm going to go into my terminal CD and change into my CSS subdirectory. So if I do a little pwd action, there's JetBlue/CSS. I'm going to touch and make a style.sass file. And in that style.sass, I'm going to start building with body, background color, yellow. Save. Now if I save and do a file open and browse for careers in code module 2 JetBlue index and open it up, I see something in the body, but I see just all white. That's because Sass isn't turned on. Sass needs to be engaged manually. You gotta talk to Sass. Hey Sass, I want you to watch something, -watch. Really, this says, hey Sass, I want you to execute a command called watch. And in that framework, Sass knows what watch is. I want you to watch a file called style.sass, and turn it into style.css. You're going to hear my dog bark for a little bit and for 2 seconds. Anyways, Sass watch a file called style.scss, and turn it into style.css. The style.css is what the browser can read. The browser cannot read Sass files. And I didn't have to create style.css. Sass will build that automatically for me. You can see down here, Sass is now watching for changes, and it wrote a file called style.css, and it wrote another file called style.css.map, which includes basically the DNA of what's going on, the input and the output file. It's storing the information so that Sass can work in the future. And bark, bark, bark. Okay, got a bark, bark. Yep, my dog is alerting me that someone is here. And my wife just walked in. Okay. Anyway, save, refresh, and I see yellow everywhere. And we are rocking and rolling. All right, so never, never, never go too far without testing if Sass works or not. If you have any questions, please post them on Sass, rocking and rolling. Okay, here we go. Coming back to the document. Now, looking at this design, without focusing on the bits, without focusing on the details. I'm not looking at the flight icons. I'm not looking at the input fields or the fonts. I'm looking at regions first. And I was trying to diagram this a little bit, which, woo, that diagram off to the right gets a little crazy. But if you think about the header, the main, and the footer, you can get it started. So just by saying that to myself, there's definitely a header. And I'm going to say in the header, what is it? The menu icon, the logo, and sign in goes here. Just roughing out the text. After that, the main element opens up. And I'm just going to say main content goes here. And then the footer element. And by the way, I'm typing out HTML. I should be taking advantage of VS Code with the shortcuts, the Emmet shortcuts. If you just type in the element you want, like just the name of it, footer, and hit tab, boom, it builds you the opening and closing. You should definitely take advantage of that because you're going to make typos. I make typos all the time. And what's that little footer text? I can probably go ahead and type it in right now. New baggage fees. Okay, it's not a real footer, but we're going to pretend it is a footer in this little thing. Baggage, what was it? I can't remember. New baggage fees. Of course there's baggage fees. Stupid airlines. See raw content, unstylized, not too far, not too sexy. So before I get into it, besides just laying out these little elements, this is a perfect time, another perfect time, to think about how do I gain complete custom control over my design. Because right now I see the text not touching the very top or the left, if you will, of this browser. There's a little default margin. I can always right click and inspect element, and if I click on the body element and come over here to the styles that are active for the body, you can see, let me just zoom in properly, body background color yellow, that's me coming from style.css line number 1. There's also body display block, margin APX coming from user agent style sheet. That's the default browser putting that stuff in. So I've been showing you to load in normalize and maybe even doing a little bit of a mini reset yourself. Normalize, we've done that before. You can just Google search normalize.css, and first search result is everything about normalize.css. You can hit download, but nothing downloads. I'm going to select all. I'm going to copy this. Now I'm not going to just paste right here. That'll be really, really ugly. Instead, I am going to create subdirectories inside my CSS folder to contain all sorts of pieces about my CSS. It's now time to take Sass to the next level and organize subdirectories for it. So I'm going to pause Sass for 1 second. I'm going to hit Control C, turn it off, and come back to my terminal, do a quick pwd. Yes, I'm in my CSS folder. I'm going to make a directory called base. Make a directory called base. Now, do you have to call it base? No, but it's going to contain basic things for this project. If I do a pwd, I'm still in CSS. Here comes cd. I'm going to go into the base folder, and I'm going to touch and make a file called I'm going to make a partial called underscore normalize.sass. Touch underscore normalize.sass. Hit return, and I can go into it by going to base normalize, and that's where I'm going to paste all my juicy stuff, all the normalized stuff, and hit save. If I come back to my website and hit refresh, nothing happens. Okay, that content that doesn't go up to the very top. Okay, if you think about it for 1 second, it's not working because I have yet to import it. So the imports are going to happen in your style.sass file. Your style.sass is going to become a table of contents, loading in all sorts of partials. So we're going to do an import. Whoop, can't spell import. And I'm going to organize this and make it base / and see, look at this is what I love about VS Code. As I start to type it out, look, it's starting to suggest underscore normalize because it's aware of everything in my project folder. Since I opened up my folder into VS Code, it's aware of all the pieces, and it knows that I'm linking to a partial, and it's going to start making suggestions. So when you import partials, you do not put the underscore. You just put the name of it that comes after the underscore. And then you don't have to say .scss. You can just, it's implied. Sass automatically looks for that. I'm going to hit save. Now I hit save and nothing is happening because I have to reactivate Sass. Now I don't want to go and type out Sass watch style.sass : style.css. I could. It only takes about 6 seconds. But you could utilize your history of your terminal. If you hit the up arrow, up, 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 it goes through your history, and it's a good way of utilizing old lines of in your terminal rather than typing out from scratch. So I'm gonna hit return, and oh yeah, okay. If I do a quick PWD or Control C for 1 second, I'm in my base folder. My style.sas file is not in base, so I'm gonna change directory and get up /. I'm gonna get out of the base folder and back into my regular CSS folder, and then I can do a up sas -- watch style.sas : start it up, and there goes sas. Save, refresh, and then look at all my content goes up to the top left corner, and we're good. So never wait to make your SAS files. Never wait to just get normalized in there and get these things in there as soon as possible. And you're going to see me build out. I should actually quit SAS for 1 second and PWD, yes, I'm in CSS. I'm going to make a directory called regions. That's going to contain header and footer, and eventually sidebar and other things that might be in an average website. What else? Base. I might make a directory called components. That's where I'm going to put my form stuff in there. I'm going to make a formed partial file. Yeah, but in this simple example, it's very easy to, in this JetBlue example, it's very easy to over-engineer it. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to have a base, a regions, and a components. And I'm going to go back into base, cd base, and I'm going to touch and make a file called _variables.sas. And that's where I'm going to put the the JetBlue, blue and the orange and the grays and all that fun stuff. Yeah, and I'm also going to make it. I'm not going to get ahead. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's go one file at a time. I'm going to go into variables and type out. I'm just going to call it JetBlue. It's literally the blue of JetBlue. I don't want to say blue twice, so just JetBlue. And I'm going to copy in. I'm going to copy in 00. Can I copy? Come on, text. Where's my text? 002. Where's my text tool in this PDF viewer? Text tool. Of course, you're not here. Oh, there we go. Perfect. And I don't always trust. Okay, it's working. And I'm going to do jet. I'm going to call it orange. Oh, careful not to. Oh, I will camel case. Jet blue, jet orange. Come back. Just using jet as a prefix for these things. And of course, it doesn't come in with the thing. This is what happens when you copy and paste in from PDFs. You come in with rich text and strange characters. So I got to type out myself. Hashtag FF8201. And what else? Oh, I get some grays, light gray and grays, F6s and 7.5s. I'm gonna make another variable, light gray, F6, 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 and what was the other one called? Just gray. Okay, 7.5s. Gray, : 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. By the way, it's called a hexadecimal color value. Hex means 6. There's 6 digits in here. If you ever want to get super technical about hex values, they're a combination of, let me zoom in here. The first 2 values are the values of R. The third and fourth values are G. And the last values, the fifth and sixth values, are the values of the B. So I don't want to get into it super technical, but if you fiddle with your R's and fiddle with your G's and B's, you're really just changing the color balance of the file. But just go often to Photoshop or to your inspector or to something to find your colors. Don't make up your own colors via your own hex values. Okay, so those variables are ready to go. And while I'm here, I'm going to say there's going to be a variable called primary font, and I'm going to use Arial for right now. But when we get further into this, I'll switch that over to Roboto from Google Fonts. But for right now, just putting a placeholder in for my primary font. My style sheet is going to be slash, do I have any more files? No. I'm going to stop with the base importing, switch over to import regions. I love separating these imports based on what they're doing. Region slash header, regions slash footer. Keeps them organized. You don't want to lump them all together under one import. I mean, you can, but it's nice to keep them separated. And the last one is going to be my components slash form, singular. And it's going to freak out because I don't have that file. So pwd, where am I? I'm in my base, cd // get out of the base, go into components, and touch and make a form dot, oh, no, underscore form dot sass. And with that, oh, and I don't have regions set up yet, so cd // get out of components, cd, get into regions, and touch and make an underscore header dot sass, touch underscore footer dot sass. Boom. And I'm staring at my side screen over here, making sure I see header and footer and form and my two base files. Everything's flowing in. I'm just trying to stay very disciplined and making files via the command line. As you get deeper and deeper into web development, you're going to be utilizing the command line more and more. So you definitely want to practice, even at this simple level, even if it feels like it's overkill and it's over-engineering the entire process. If you can force yourself to use the command line, you'll be much more fluent in the command line when the time or when the moment when you really need it in the future, when you get deep into a React project or Node or Angular or whatever. All the modern frameworks utilize the command line a lot. And one more file I forgot to. This is going to be called a foundation. I'm going to do pwd. This is in regions // and I'm going to change directory and go into my base and make a file called foundation.sass. And foundation is going to be things where I put like body background color and all sorts of other little things, just really basic things. And base / foundation is the last little import. Now when I look at this and I take away body background color, cut it and move it into base foundation and paste. Now when I look at my Sass file, it's a table of contents. It's almost like chapter 1. Load in the basic pieces. Chapter 2, load in my regions. Chapter 3, load in components / any kind of component. And other ones that we've done, last week we got into a views subdirectory. That's a great one. You can get as granular as you want with your folders. It doesn't hurt anything. The more organized you are, the more scalable your project is. The easier it will be to come back to this project in the future because it's just tightly organized. Like I said, don't be afraid to like super organize this, even though it's a simple little one-pager type of project. You'll thank yourself later on. Do I have any questions on Slack right now? I see a post from Will talking about a guest speaker tomorrow night at 4th from TCG Player. He's going to talk about networking. That'll be a great little thing. So think about that plan for that for being like the first hour of class. But if no questions, I'm going to move on to actually building out, starting with the header. Let's start at the very top. I'm going to open up header region, if you will, header region, and say, hey, header CSS. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see this. Hey, header, what's so special about you? I'm going to throw in a background color of lime green just to see you. Where are you right now? Header, I don't see you. Oh, Sass is turned off because I was doing all the magical creating of files and all that fun stuff. So where am I? PWD, I'm in base, cd // get out of base, and go backwards through my history and find my SAS command about watching. Ooh, oh, there it is, SAS watch, style.sas, style.css. Hit enter, turn the engine back on, refresh, and there is lime green. Notice I put in silly colors all the time because those colors tell you whether something is working or not. Never assume that things are working until you really push it out with a silly color. All right. Here's a new thing I want to show you. It's a padding of 1 rem. 1 rem, R-E-M, that's not pixels. It stands for root measurement. 1 times the root measurement. 1 times the default font size of your root element of your website. 1 times the root. What is the root? If I go to foundation and I go to my body and I declare that the font size of my entire document to be 16 pixels, this is now 1 unit. Body font size 16px. If I mention 1 rem, it is 1 times 16. Save, refresh, and look closely. If you do the math, it's padding on all 4 sides 16 pixels. And it's a really nice way of working with units and measurements without you trying to dial in 22 pixels or 32 pixels. It's now just multiples. And you can put in decimals. You can do 1.5. If you do the math, that is 24. It's 16 times 1.5. You can do 2 rem. It's 2 times 16. That's 32. You can get crazy. You can do 12 rem. Don't do this, but that's 12 times 6. And it's a super big padding. So you're gonna see me use 1 rem a lot tonight to space out things. Perfect. So let me finish off main and footer before I get into the weeds, into the details of header. And you know what? I need a file for regions. Where's regions? I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm not going to quit SAS right here. I'm just going to quickly make a new file called _main.sas for my main element stuff. I cheated a little bit. I had to quit SAS and restart it. Some of you might be thinking, some of you, if you've experienced this more, you can click on this button above your terminal for a split terminal. You can open up a second terminal and do separate things without interrupting SAS. You can click it and it opens up a second terminal. See, SAS is running on the left, and now I have complete access to the right. So I like to work with at least 2 terminals at the same time, but I cheated. I opened it up somewhere else. Okay. Boom, main.sas. What's going to go in here? Well, the main element. And what's so special about you, main element? I'm going to just make you a background color of white so I can see you with the padding 1 rem. Save, refresh. And man, it's not working because I did not import main into my style SAS. And I'm going to try to keep it in the right order, region/main and a comma. Save, refresh. There's main. And while I'm here, footer SAS, hey footer, background color. I'm just going to type out some silly color, pink for right now, with padding 1 rem just to get it going, just to see. Okay, look at that, beautiful. I have a header, main, and footer all working. Nothing sexy, but now it's finally time to dive into the details. Quick glance at Slack. Any questions on Slack? Last post was still from Will. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and one of us will answer it on Slack. Okay, back to the header. Oh, back to the PDF. Okay, back to the PDF. Let's look very closely at that header. Let me open up that PDF, go full screen, and zoom in and drag this over. We have an icon, a menu icon, a logo, and a sign in. I'm going to use Font Awesome for this menu icon. The other icons on this document, the flight bed, or the hotel, or whatever you want to call it, those are custom icons. I could not get those off of Font Awesome. Someone at JetBlue made them, but I downloaded them anyways, and they're in the images folder in that zip file. But this one, the menu icon, is a very easy one to get from Font Awesome. So to get Font Awesome rocking and rolling, open up a new tab. I'm opening up a new window here, and Google search Font Awesome. Step one, start using for free, but really step one is to copy the link to the style sheet for Font Awesome. Copy it, bring it back, and paste it into your index.html. Not just anywhere, but you're going to put it in front of style.css. We're going to load in that big style sheet. It's bringing in a ton of icons into the browser's memory. And then step two, start using the icons to find the icon that you want to use. And if I click icons, it's going to load the icons directory. And still waiting. Uh-oh, am I having internet issues? Not awesome, come on. Font Awesome. Well, damn it. Font Awesome. Am I having Google problems? Have I having internet problems? No. If I just Google search Font Awesome, I'm good. Font Awesome, it's themselves is having an issue for whatever reason. Well, this is lovely. Luckily, I have it memorized on what I need. So here comes, in the header element, here comes an I element. And inside the I element, don't type this manually, I just know this, it's Font Awesome solid with FA hyphen bars. Let's see what happens. Save, refresh, and ooh, it's still going to fail because that CDN is probably still down from fontawesome.com. This whole thing is not going to load correctly. Sweet Jesus. Of course. This happens right as I'm trying to do a live demo. We'll come back to that. We'll come back. It'll eventually work. Oh, of course, it's going to knock down my entire website. So I'm going to comment out the link. I'm going to turn this link off so it doesn't hang up my entire website. Save, refresh. Okay, and we'll come back to the menu icon when Font Awesome gets their shit together. I'm kidding. Okay, so we're just going to say we're not going to do that. We're going to load in an image for the logo. Hey, browser, go to my images folder and grab JetBlue-logo.svg. And the alt can be JetBlue logo. Save, refresh, and broken image link. That is because, well, think about it, common sense. Do I have the images folder in my new directory? Yes, I have an images folder, but right now it's empty. It doesn't have any of my stuff. So go to the zip and copy or select all the images and bring it over into your current images folder. And I'm pasting icon cars and JetBlue logo and all that fun stuff. Now when I hit refresh, I see a gigantic JetBlue logo. All right, so that's telling me it's working. SVGs often come in full blast until you give it some styling, but I'm going to give the JetBlue logo a class called logo. Save. And this logo is going to be in the header. So hey header, look how I'm nesting in. This is what I love about Sass. I'm going to the Sass partial for header, and then here's the header parent with the logo child selector inside it. And for right now, I don't know the exact size, so I'm just going to say width 100px, height auto, until I know if that's a good size or not. Save, refresh, and okay, that's decent. Not too bad. Next to the, oh, first of all, that's an A tag. I'm going to wrap an A tag around this image so that if you click on the logo, it's going to go to www.jetblue.com with the whole HTTPS in front of it. And if I clean this up, looks pretty nice. You don't have to always do that, but save, refresh. Now if I click the logo, I go to jetblue.com and I'm going to hit back. Perfect. Second child inside the header, well, the logo is the second child. The first one has a font awesome icon. Hopefully, oh, it looks like it came back while I was talking. So let me first of all turn that link back on. Link to the library file. Perfect. And then go get the bars icon. Click on bars. You can also search for menu, and bars will be there somewhere. And I'm going to copy that, which I already have. Oh, no, I deleted it. And I'm going to, first of all, open up just an A tag. I'm going to put an empty hashtag inside it because I don't want to take the user anywhere right now. And then paste in the icon. Save, refresh, and see what happens. And I get a little JetBlue, sorry, no, I get the menu icon in first position, and then JetBlue second. Third position is going to be another A tag. I'm just going to put a hashtag in here as a placeholder because it is just the word sign up, right? I think it's sign up. Sign in, not sign up. Semantics. What's special? Okay, I'm going to give it a class called sign-in so I can stylize that individually. And that the icon upstairs for the bars, the menu button, I'm going to give that a class called menu BTN, menu with a capital BTN, the B of the BTN. And I guess I could do the same thing with sign in. Camel casing, keep it in one word. Here comes period menu BTN. I'm also keeping them in my SAS header partial in the same order that they appear. So hey, menu button, without knowing you too closely, I'm just going to make you 50 by 50 pixels with a special background color of orange, so I know otherwise. Not JetBlue orange, but just some random orange. Save, refresh. Look at that. That's not 50 pixels by 50 pixels. Menu button, what's going on? Well, what happens is when you run your code through normalize, it actually takes away the default block space an anchor element can take up. And what normalize does is it makes the hyperlinks only take up the space of the interior word, or in this case, the interior icon. And it will ignore your width and height because it's not really a block. It's supposed to just be an anchor element. In this case, I'm going to put in display block and tell the anchor element, it's okay, you are going to be a block. You are going to use your width and your height. Save, refresh. Yeah, look what happens. Ooh, now it starts listening to your 50 pixel by 50 pixel. Ignore the other mess around it. What else after that? I'm going to align it. Text align center. Save, refresh. What does that do? That makes it go left to right centering. And line height 50 pixels. And what that does is it pushes up 25 pixels, pushes down 25. It takes your line height 50 and divides it by 2 and pushes up and pushes down, and it gives you the illusion that it's vertically centered. While I'm here, I'm going to give it a font size of maybe 28 pixel, and it looks like a nice button. What's nice about 50 by 50 pixel block is the hyperlinking starts where the orange is. Look at that. As soon as my icon goes, as soon as my mouse goes over this 50 pixel box, it becomes an active hyperlink. You don't always have to put your finger directly on that little icon. That's a better user experience to have a nice, safe tap target or touch target for your finger on a mobile device. A few pieces of information about sign in text link. This is going to be font family. Here comes a SAS variable called primary font, and I typed it out in my variables to be Arial for right now. Eventually it'll be Roboto. I'm going to type out a little font size, 24. I'm going to make it white and font weight bold. You don't have to put these font properties in the exact order, but I try to keep my font properties bundled together. You know, it's nice having font family, font size, font weight together, and then color after that, but you can do anything you want. Save, refresh, and look at sign in. Perfect. Not perfect, but perfect enough. Okay, so obviously there's a big mess. I want them to really spread out. I want them to first display side by side. So, hey, header parents, you got some children inside you, and the children need to be displayed side by side. Here comes display flex to the rescue. Save, refresh. Look what happens with display flex for the header parent. This makes the children display side by side. Beautiful. Now, there's a flex property that will spread the children out equally. And I never remember it off the top of my head. So I often just Google search Flexbox. Like Google search Flexbox. And first search result, csstricks.com, a complete guide to Flexbox. Oh, sorry. By the way, I Google search Flexbox. First search result, csstricks.com. It's purple because I've been here 1,000 times. I love this page because they have visual diagrams of what the different Flexbox properties do, and I love it. You know, as you scroll through here, what I'm trying to do is spread the children out equally across the one row, because my children pieces, they're at different widths, and I'm not going to dial in exact margins. Here's the property. Here's a little what I'm talking about. Justify content. Justify hyphen content colon flex start. No, I don't want them all bundled towards the beginning. Flex end. No, I do not want to push all the children to the end. Center. That's kind of nice, but not what I want right now. Ding, 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 ding. Space between. Look at this. Look how it spreads out. This would be like my menu icon to the left, my JetBlue logo in the middle, and my sign in on the right. Space around gives a little margin on the left, margin on the right, and space evenly just auto divides the leftover space and auto distributes it. But space between is what I want. So justify content, space hyphen between. And it goes right underneath display flex. Justify content, space hyphen between. Save, watch my children. Let me get this mobile size. Save, refresh. Boom, look at those children. They spread out. I love it. I love Flexbox for these things. It's almost like a utility class. It helps you do things that you want to do all the time. Another thing is I want to vertically center these children. Right now they're like spaced completely out, but the up and down centering, and that's another property called align items. Look at this little diagram. Align items, I don't want them at the start. I don't want them drop them anchored toward the bottom of the ocean. I want them centered. Look at that. I don't want to stretch them. And then baseline, I've never used this, but look at it. It takes the text and lines it all up regardless of the heights of the box. That's weird. But just align items, colon, center. To see if it picks up my children and moves them to the center of the header parent. And save, refresh. Look at those little children. Yes, kind of. I mean, they are vertically centered across. They're not perfect. I know sign-in doesn't quite line up with the logo. We might have to micro adjust a few things, but generally speaking, this thing, they're all equal. Cool. So header, you're not going to be background color lime green. You're going to be variable jet blue. Save, refresh. Ooh, look at that. And menu button, you're not going to be orange. I'm going to turn you off with a / and refresh, and it's a blue hyperlink on a navy blue background. I just need to bring in color white into menu BTN. Save, refresh. Look at that. Whoop, whoop. Look at this. Oh, and sign in. You got your default underline. You got your default text decoration. I'm going to go to sign in and say text hyphen decoration. That's French for decoration. It's not actually, but text decoration none. Save, refresh, turn that off. Now here comes a new thing I want to show you about in SAS. To bring it back, no, don't type this. This is the bad way first. If you want to do something about hovering, you type something like this, and let's see what happens with background color red. If I hover over that, background color red. Okay, but that requires me to type out sign in again. Okay, SAS makes it super easy. Watch this. You go into the sign in, hit enter, and it's almost like you're talking about a child inside sign in, but it's not. It's a pseudo class. You use the ampersand, colon, hover. Ampersand refers back to the original selector. So since I'm nested inside sign in, anytime I use ampersand, it refers to the parent class called sign in. So now I can say text decoration underline. When I hover over sign in, it's going to bring back the underline. You're going to see me use this ampersand a few times. Look at that. Let me see. Boom, boom, boom. It's working. Perfect. Any questions on Slack? Let me know. I have one eye on Slack and one eye on my code. Questions in general. One food for thought right now is, like I said, I did not get into the menu icon, JetBlue icon, and sign in right away. I got my basic building blocks first, and then I got into the pieces and finessed them. And what you don't see right now is that whole process. You don't see my crazy colors. I try to keep my crazy colors on as long as possible. And by me turning that off right now, that's actually premature for me. I often keep those crazy colors on as long as possible until it's time to show it to the public. Okay. When I see crazy colors in my document, it tells me that, ooh, that part was working, it's been tested, and it just needs that last little finesse of turning off things. But anyways, going back to the PDF, coming back, feeling fly today. I am feeling fly today. Thank you, JetBlue. That's going to be a headline in the main content. Here comes an icon bar, and then the big form inside that. So just by saying those three things, and a headline, an icon bar, and a form, you can start to put in the preliminary pieces. So close out the header in my HTML. Here comes the main content. Think about those pieces. There was a headline. I'm just going to make it an I'm going to make it an H2 headline. It's not really a page title. It's just a slogan. So I don't want Google to think this is super, super important. So just an H2, feeling fly today, question mark. After that, there was an icon bar. Icon bar, I'm gonna call it period icon bar. It's gonna be a div called icon bar. So I'm typing out the class name, hit tab, and it builds me out a div with that class. I'm gonna do that again. If you know you want to build a div and you know the class for it ahead of time, type out period and then the class name and then hit tab and it builds you a nice div. And let's say icon bar goes here. After that, there's a form, and that's an HTML element. It's a big form. But the form, I'm going to point out a quick thing about the form. The form takes up the round trip, one way, and all these little input fields, and it also wraps around the button. If you want a submit button, the search flights button, it needs to be a part of the form parent. So really, inside this form parent, you have two major children. You have this big gray block, form fields, and then you have your button at the very bottom. So just by saying that to myself, I have a div box called form-fields. Form fields go here. And then I have a button. I'm going to start with an HTML button and search flights. And while I'm here, I'm going to put in type equals submit. You can apply, it doesn't always have to be input type, you can do button type submit, I believe. I'll look that up in a little bit. Save, refresh, what does this look like? It should be nothing. Let's save, refresh, and font awesome is going down again, or maybe something with my internet, I have no idea. That gets annoying, so I don't need icons right now from font awesome, so I'm going to turn off this link. Oops. I'm going to turn off this link with an HTML comment, save, refresh, so I have access to my website without font awesome failing to the CDN. Which brings up a great point. You should always try to make sure your website isn't reliant on all these external libraries. You might want to take an extra second or two and import the font another way, like whether you download it or you import. You can actually import fonts directly into your style sheets, not via a link element, and that's another import. Or download the actual SVG for that menu icon and any SVG icon that you need and put them all in your images folder and then link to them locally. Don't rely on this external library. As you can see, I'm having problems on a Sunday for whatever reason with Font Awesome failing. Typically I've never had a problem with Font Awesome, so it must be something going on with my internet. Okay, scrolling back down. Form action, I'm going to leave that blank. Action is whether you're posting something or you're getting something. We're doing neither right now, but I will put a class in here as like a little parent class called trips, or trip. All this stuff inside this whole form is about booking your trip. And it's a nice little 4-letter prefix. Here's trip, and background color, something crazy, cyan, just to turn something obnoxious on. See, refresh. Okay, there's that. And I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to go back up to the icon bar. I want to go back up to my H2 and the main element too. The main element, it's not going to be background color white. I'm going to turn off the background color white and let it, oh no, I take that back. I'm going to turn that back on and go back to jet blue. Background color jet blue. And anything in the main element, right now I'm going to globally say that anything inside it is going to be color white. So I can see all my beautiful text and children. Granted, white on cyan is terrible. Main H2, I'm going to go right into the H2 right here. Font family, primary font. Font size, I'm going to go with 2 REM, 2 times 16. Save, refresh, perfect-ish, not the greatest. And text align center to line it up. Boop, perfect. After that is the icon bar. I'm going to go into the icon bar, still inside the main element parent, and talk about a silly background color of lime green. Save, refresh. Hey, icon bar, there you are. I can see you. Now, what goes inside this icon bar? Well, in the PDF, you can see that this is potentially where you're going to spend the most of your work on this little mini demo. There's a little SVG icon, a word, flights, and a little border on the bottom. So option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. There's a variety of ways that you can do this. You could use a UL-LI system for bulleted lists, even though they're not bullets. You can just have A tags inside here. You can have divs inside here. You can have spans inside. You can do it a variety of ways. I think the best way, but this is debatable though, the best way is to use a UL and an LI system. A UL stands for unenumerated list. Typically you use it for a bulleted list. And inside a UL goes LIs. LIs stand for listed item. It's like basically a child of your bulleted list parent. And we're going to put in here flights. And just to get this going, I'm going to put 4 of these LIs in here and see what happens. Save, refresh. Ah! Oh, where am I putting this? I put this in the wrong box. This is supposed to be an icon bar. Sorry. Icon bar. Here's my UL, my LIs. Clean this up a little bit. Flights, 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 flights. Save, refresh. Okay, the green box opens up. By default, you see bullets with the text next to it. And I'm going to focus on one child, one LI child, and I'll ignore my second, third, and fourth child until later. I'm going to focus on this. The first thing that goes into these LIs is going to be a gigantic A tag. An A tag. And inside the A tag is going to go an image. And, oh my God, my screen just took off on me. And after the image goes the word flights. So let's look at that. Let's stare at that structure. This is icon bar, by the way, div class icon bar, a UL, first child, first navigation link inside this little, icon bar, a hyperlink that's going to wrap around the image and the text called flights. This image, browser, go to my images folder and grab icon hyphen flight.svg. Alt tag could be flight icon, and then flight. Save, refresh. And look at that little thing. There's a little flight icon with text flights next to it. Perfect. I mean, it's not perfect, doesn't look perfect, but it will be in a little bit. I'm going to take that complete, beautiful LI and get rid of my second, third, and fourth child and paste over with another LI. Paste again. Just clean this up as I'm pasting. The auto indenting is taking off on me a little bit. Save. Look at that, 4 children. Flights, 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 flights. Icon, icon, icon. And I go back in and I look at, what was this? Flights and hotel. Hotels, plural. Hotel, singular. Hotels, plural. Flights and hotels. And I think I call these aptly named flights hyphen hotels, SVG. And it was hotel. Oh, forgot to change the the alt attribute, and then hotel icon hyphen hotel SVG, hotel icon. Beautiful. And then the car. I think I just called it icon car, car icon, and what did I call it? Plural cars or what? Cars plural. Yes. Cars plural. Save, refresh. Ah, broken image link. Look at this. Flights, flights and hotels. Hotel icon is broken. It's probably hotels plural. SVG. Save, refresh. Yes, there we go. Look at those beauties. And by beauties, I mean raw structure. So it's SVG icon and an image source, followed by plain text. Close out the A tag that's wrapped around this, and close down the LI that's wrapped around each listed item. And right now, this is a raw, unstructured list until you start hijacking it and making it your own. Some of you are probably wondering why I use the UL and LI. Well, by using a UL, you're applying semantic value to this little content region. You're now telling Google that all these listed items, flights and hotels, cars and etc., hotels, all 4 of those children are equal to each other. They're a bundled set. If you were using divs around them, Google would have to figure out whether the divs relate to each other. But by binding them in a UL and LI, it's like a better glue between them from a semantic value point of view. You views them as a set instead of just an ambiguous group of related elements. And if you had spans or just A tags, once again, Google has to figure out whether the children inside the space are related to each other, brother and sister, if you will. But the UL and LI has that semantic value that you just formed a content relationship between all those LIs. And then as a bonus, you get some styling opportunities with these ULs and LIs. So icon bar is the parent. And inside the icon bar is a UL. Look at this. I love nesting inside SAS. It just makes everything look beautiful and organized. Hey UL, you got some bullets I don't need. List style none, just for the UL. Save, refresh. And boo, all the bullets disappear. And then, hey UL, you also got this default padding and margin that's bothering me. Look at those LIs. Those things are still pushed in very far. I talked about last class that you have to sometimes do a mini reset. I often do a little mini reset in my foundation file. Normalize doesn't reset everything that I prefer. I like to take my H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and a P tag. This is in my foundation file. And I like to take the UL and an LI and reset them all to padding 0, margin 0, so that I have complete custom control over the spacing around those children pieces. Save, refresh, and look what happens. All those children pieces collapse, and now I have complete custom control over them. Going back to my main element, now I can say, hey, UL, you got 4 children inside you, and I want those 4 children to display side by side. Display flex to the rescue, display flex. Psh, look at that. Then each child is displayed side by side. Now it's getting a little rough. Icon text, icon text, icon text. What we probably need to do is clean up this. Here comes an image, and I'm going to put a break in, and then flights. The image, line break, flights and hotels. SVG icon, hotel, line break, hotel. Car icon, line break, cars. Save, refresh. Ah, look what happens. There we go. Now it's like icon, break, text, icon, break, text, icon, break, text, icon, break, text. Perfect. What else? Some centering. Okay, everything inside this should be centered. Hey, icon bar, just in general, just text, align, center. Granted, I probably could have used a display flex property for that, but save, refresh. That moves, look at that, the icon centered above the text, the icon above the text. Perfect. But yeah, there is a display flex problem or property that we need to put in here to center everything. What is a property? If I go back to that Flexbox and look at the one I was looking at, I want all my children centered, like these 3 would be my little icons. Justify content, center. Justify content, center. Save and refresh. And look at them. They're all centered. They just need some space. They're all touching each other. So, hey, LIs inside the UL parent, you're going to have a little bit of margin. You're going to have margin. Save, refresh. And look at those icons. Now there's a 16 pixel gap between them. It's like a left arm and a right arm. So the first value is top and bottom, and the second value is left and right. All right. Any questions on Slack? Look how beautiful this is. Look how beautiful. I know. Crazy colors. We got to do borders, and we got to do a little bit of space on these icons and the font family and the stupid underlines that go underneath the text. So inside the A tags, sorry, inside the LIs, we got the A tags. We got to get rid of text decoration, none. Save, refresh. There goes the text. We got to get a little font family in there. Font family, primary font. Primary font alone, font, can't spell font. It's a big word, I know. 4 letters. Save, refresh. Boom. Let's get some bold in there. Font weight, bold. It's not just anemic Arial. Anemic Arial. And here comes color white. And boom, they changed. Okay, there is one thing I did earlier and I forgot to show it to you. I did it yesterday when I was practicing here. Those icons for you are probably black icons. I made a switch. I realized on the fly that I want to switch this back. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. The cars icon, I just made it go back to default. The default SVG icon, they're always usually black. And I thought you could control it in CSS with a color. I'm so used to Font Awesome, you can control it with the color property in CSS. But when you're linking and pulling in a custom SVG icon, you can't control the color in your CSS. You have to either control it in the SVG file itself or copy all the SVG code and paste it into your HTML, which is ridiculous. I'm going to show you that ridiculous way. Don't do this, but I can take, for the car, I can take all this code from the icon, copy it, and go to my index.html, go to this little image area, delete the image. Oh God, here it goes. Ready? Ready? And paste all that stuff in. I just made a freaking mess of my HTML document. I would have to come up here to this SVG and collapse. And it's not even allowing me to collapse, which is terrible. This is just not a good way of working. All right, so I'm always lean towards having a nice clean image source, and then just going into the car icon, find the opening SVG icon. Here it is, SVG XML namespace, just a format. Width is something, height is something, view box is something. That's the XY coordinates of the canvas. Focusable false, I have no idea what that means. Class equals, well, you can always apply a class, but it doesn't work. I tried it. You got to put in fill equals hashtag FFF. That's hex color for white. But it's the fill attribute that you need to put into your opening SVG elements. Save, refresh, and you can see cars goes to white, and I did it for all 4 of them. Not the greatest way, but not the worst way of handling these icons. So to my point, find your images folder, click on one of your icons, find the opening SVG element, and why don't you slide in fill equals, in quotes, the hex value that you want to change them to, and for right now it's going to be white. I have a question from Eva on Slack. Where does the sas.cache file come from? The sas cache file comes from sas, and what's inside it, I have no idea. And where is it? Oh yeah, right there. Yeah, see, oh, sas cache is a folder, a directory, and inside it, I think it just has previous saves inside it. Not that you can roll it back, but SAS makes these files to help it work. If I look inside here, look, it has this old cache files. I don't know, eventually SAS will like wipe them out. The files that you need to focus on are in the base, and the components, the regions, and the style.sas, the table of contents, if you will. Don't worry about the map, and don't worry necessarily about the final version of the file. That's what the browser is going to load, my style.css. Focus on your table of contents and all your little children pieces inside the SAS directory or SAS folder. All right, back to those little icons. Those icons need borders, and I'm going to start with border dash bottom on the A tags. Border dash bottom, 1 pixel solid red. I'm just going to start with something obnoxious so we can see it in action. Save, refresh, and look at this mess. That was just a border dash bottom on my A tags. I put a border dash bottom on the icon and the text. It's all over the place. I don't think we can put border dash bottom on the A tags. I think we're going to put border dash bottoms on the LIs, not the inside text. Save. Oh, get out of the way. Refresh. And when I do that, ooh, look at that. I can see border dash bottom on the LI square, the LI block, if you will. I'm going to jack this up to 5 pixels solid red. And look at, now you can see it. So I think the best spot is on the LI, not the interior A tag, because as you can see, if I put it back on the A, there's a side effect on the A. Look at because technically the icon is part of the A tag, so it's put a border on the bottom of that, and border on the bottom of the text. I'm going to go one step out and put it just on the LI block. Save, refresh. Now spread it out a little bit. I don't want them like right up on each other. I don't want the border right up on the text. If you look at the PDF, they have nice, a little bit of space, maybe like a half a rem on the bottom. So the LI is going to have padding dash bottom 0.5 rem. It's 0.5 of the 16 pixel font declared in my body. And boop, look at that, nice. Okay, but it's not going to be red. It's going to first be, what is it going to be? Jet orange. Save, refresh. Now all of them are jet. And here comes a side effect of flipping on and off borders. Watch what happens. I'm going to, what am I going to do? I am going to do ampersand colon hover. Right there, that ampersand stands for the LI, not the A tag. I'm not inside the A tag right here. I'm outside the A tag. When I hover on the LIs, the border is going to change to orange. But if I'm not, I'm going to stay with 5 pixel jet blue. Save, refresh. Now look at that. Okay. Eventually, when I turn off lime green, you're going to just see blue all the way across. That blue border is going to go right and blend in, camouflage with the blue background. Oh my God. Zoom out. Turn off lime green for a couple seconds. Turn it off. Refresh. There. Oh, also, by the way, look at my icons are right up against the H2. Ooh, I'm going to say, hey, H2, margin bottom, 2 rem, 2 times 16, 32, push down. Yeah, look at that. Whew, breathing space. Got a little claustrophobic back there. And now, look at that. That's good. But the LIs, and the 8, the LIs, they need to be opacity 0.7, 70% opacity. Okay, look at that. Whoa, missed the zoom, sorry. Now they're 70%, all of them, but when I hover over them, they're still 70% when I hover over. Well, when I hover over, bring opacity back to 1, as in 100% opacity. Save, refresh. And it's subtle, but look at this. It boosts the brightness from 70% complete opacity for the whole LI to when I hover over, everything goes back up to 100% brightness. And what you don't see also is there's the blue borders. The blue borders are there. If I go back to the default border and I turn it back to like lime green, just for shits and giggles, save, refresh, there's the lime greens, the defaults, but when I hover, they change to orange. Well, you might be asking, well, why even put a border there? Watch this. I'm going to turn off that border. Save, refresh. Here comes the side effect. When I hover, see the little bouncy bounce? The 5 pixels of the border pushes in and pushes all the content down. You get a little bumpy bump. Okay, look at that. It's terrible. So you got to kind of prime the space with a default border. Not lime green, but jet blue. Save and refresh, and boom, it's seamless. Cool. Questions about that? Anything on Slack, question-wise? Anyone? Why don't you guys give me a thumbs up on my, here I'm gonna post a question. Any questions on my live stream? If you're good, give me a thumbs up on that question post. If you have any questions, ask away. How many people do we have watching right now? I'm going to tell by the number of little likes or something on this little post. You got to hit the not star, but you got to hit a little emoji response to it. Well, anyways, let me know if there's anything. Going back to the PDF. Oh, icon bar. You have a border all the way along the bottom edge of you. That's the whole icon bar. That's not just the little LIs. That's the entire icon bar. Icon bar, border dash bottom, 1 pixel, solid white for right now. Save, refresh, and well, also icon bar, you gotta push down. Margin bottom, 1 rem. You're basically telling the form, get off me by 1 pixel. Okay. However, look at it, it works. I have a border going all the way across, but it's not supposed to be like 100% white. What are we going to do? We can't just drop, I can't just say opacity 0.7. That's taking the entire icon bar, the whole group, and fading everything back to 70%. Let me zoom in properly. Regardless, see, it's all dim because everything has been faded down. So we can't just drop the opacity. We just want to drop the opacity of this color. And thank God CSS has this thing called RGBA. It's RGBA, parenthesis, parenthesis. And what you get to do is you get to put in a value for the R, the G, the B, and then the A. And the A stands for alpha, which is a fancy word for transparency. So in RGB terms, white is 255, 255, 255. And then the A is 0.7. Look at R, comma, B, comma, R, comma, G, comma, B, comma, A. White, 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 like full color, full color, full color, and then 0.7, 70% alpha. Refresh. What happens is it just fades the color of that border and doesn't touch anything else, which is nice. Sexy, even. Questions? Anything? Got some thumbs up? Good, good, good. Perfect. Form. Form is where things pick up in the HTML input realm of things. We're going to have what's called radio buttons, these little circles. We're going to have input fields for these text boxes, and then a checkbox input, and then a button down below. So quite often I'll open up a tab to W3 Schools about input fields and use some of their code to start with. Like I just might Google search HTML radio button, and the first search result is not working correct. I hope I'm not going in and out of streaming here because of internet connections. HTML radio. No internet. Just give it a second for my internet. Did I drop? Can you still hear me? Boom, ba bum, bum, ba bum. Oh, internet. I don't know why I'm having internet problems today. All right, I guess I'm still going. Google's coming back. W3 Schools or Google search results coming back. I'm going to open up a separate browser just in case. I'm going to open up Firefox. Maybe I'm having Chrome issues. HTML radio button. Nope, still having problems. Well, in a nutshell, luckily I've memorized this a few thousand times. In the form fields, here comes an input. But as I type out the word input, I love VS Code. They give you suggestions, and there's one called input radio. Watch what happens when I click it. It builds me out everything for a radio button. And input type equals radio, name equals something, ID equals something, and the name is going to be, what goes after it is what? I can't remember in the PDF. What's the first word? Round trip versus one way. Round trip versus one way. Round trip. And another input. And radio. Radio, 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 radio. Boom. And that's going to be for one-way. Save. Refresh for 1 second. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, white type on a cyan background is kind of hard to see, but the PDF in this form, we switch back to black type. This would be a perfect time to go to the forms. The form say, yes, I have cyan, but I also want color black to negate the white that's happening on the main element. There we go. There's some black there's some black little input fields. Looking nice. Okay. And you can click and click. But I wanted to look up radio button HTML. Still having Google search problems. This is not good, but whatever. Index of HTML. The key thing to all this is input type equals radio. That's what really switches it. And then name and ID will fill in a little bit, but then just the visual text that goes after it is the round trip or the one way. Now I'm going to put this in a little group called radio group. It's a div called radio group. I just made that up. But inside that, I'm going to cut and put my inputs in there. And by putting them in a group, I can then put some space above, space below. I can even stylize the fonts inside radio group without battling other things. Also, form fields. There's a if I look at my website right now, look at this. All the text is right up against the edge of the cyan. Cyan color. If I look at my PDF, let's go ahead and put in the real color. The real color is that light gray, and there's padding. There's some space on all four sides of this box. So let's talk about the form fields box. Period form fields. Background. I can't even spell background. I gotta do B, C, tab. Oh, look how beautiful it is. And then do light gray. Padding 1 rem, 16 pixels, all four sides. And border on all four sides, 1 pixel solid gray, the variable that I gave you. Save, refresh. Look at that. Now she's looking nice. I'll do rounded corners later on. Inside form fields, there is radio-group. And how about we do a little bit of margin bottom, 1 or 0.5 rem. 8 pixels basically push down. Well, it's not important right now to do that. I guess everything inside Trip is going to be font family, primary font. Everything's going to be Roboto. So I'm just going to stylize it the very top of this parent and make all the children Arial for right now, or soon be Roboto. Boom. Looking nice. I'm not after the functionality right now, but it will work. It'll work once you get into JavaScript and all that fun stuff. After that, look at what else. We got input field, input field, input field, and a little checkbox. Let's do our first two input fields, the Syracuse, New York, and where to. Now, what happened on JetBlue.com, they auto-filled it based on my geolocation for Syracuse, New York. So we're going to pretend this is where from, and we're going to type in where to here. We're not going to fill it with Syracuse. Whenever I have a closed div of a group, I like to put an HTML comment notating to myself that this slash div is closing out radio group, and this slash div is closing out form fields. These little notes, they don't hurt anyone. They don't really do anything. They don't hurt you in search engine optimization. They don't hurt you with user experience. They improve developer experience by reading and knowing exactly what these little fragments of code are doing. So after radio group, here comes an input. If I just do input tab, it's a basic text field. But there's a placeholder attribute that you can type in where from. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I like to put when I have more than 2 attributes, I like to put them on single lines because here comes a class attribute. And we're going to call this trip-input. If you look at the PDF, all those input fields, the Syracuse one, the where to, select date, one adult, they're all stylized the same. So I'm going to try to use one class to stylize all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And I'm going to call that trip input. Save, refresh. Look, I get a little where from. It's raw styled. It's nothing sexy yet. After that, here comes another input. And I copy the where from, paste, and do where to. Still with trip input, still with type equals text. Save, refresh. but I want it on 2 separate lines. So put a little break after one. Save, refresh, break. Look at that. Where from, where to. Let's stylize trip input before I get too far into this. Trip input. After radio group in the SAS, here comes trip input. What's so special about you? Well, these input fields are going to be with 100% of the available space. Save, refresh. They blow out to 100%. Beautiful. They're going to have a little bit of padding. Let me just see what padding 1 rem looks like. Huh. Now look what happened over here. Padding 1 rem. Took my 100% and added 1 rem on the left and another 1 rem on the other side. Now it's 2 rems too big. This happens a lot, and sometimes padding, or by default, padding usually gets added to the outside of your width until you declare otherwise. And what you got to do sometimes is what's called invert the box model. Hey, box sizing property, I want to put in what's called border dash box, and it doesn't. This is a little complicated at this point, but what it's saying is basically invert the box model. Padding pushes in instead of padding pushes out. If I put a border on this box, the border now goes on the outside, not the padding or the margin. So it's really just inverting. Padding pushes in, margin pushes out. Save, refresh. Now watch what happens when I hit refresh. They now tuck in. With 100% for the input field works perfectly. Then it pushes in 1 rem on all 4 sides, and it doesn't bloat the input fields, doesn't make them big, because it's now officially pushing in. And every input field is going to push down a half a rem, 8 pixels. Save, refresh. Now those input fields, beautiful. Look at, they're pushing down. Okay, where from, where to. By the way, placeholder field, placeholder attribute are really nice because you can type things in and it gets rid of the default text. So placeholder is a new like HTML5 attribute, I think. Now the next row is a little complicated. There's select date and select date, but 2 import fields across the same row. How are we going to do this? This is no different than using columns. You need a parent around it. We're going to call this trip-row, a div class called trip-row. And inside the trip-row are 2 input fields. I'm going to take the 2 input fields from above, copy them, and paste them into this space, into trip-row, and close this trip row. Okay, so now if I hit save and refresh, boom, nothing happens. I get another where from, where to. I should probably change the placeholder to select date, placeholder select date, placeholder select date, save, refresh. Okay, select date, but they got to share the space. Right now the browser has no idea what trip row is. You need to declare that this is a parent. Trip row is a display flex parent. Save, refresh. Immediately just subdivides this space and puts 1 child on the left, another child on the right. Regardless, even if I might put a second class, it's going to come in here and push left. It's going to have a little left arm, and it's going to put inside trip input with an ampersand, period, trip margin left. What this means is it's the equivalent of doing this. If you remember that class, don't do this, but class equals trip hyphen input, and then there's trip margin left. If you were going to write this yourself in CSS, it would be trip hyphen input period trip hyphen margin left, no space in between. It's a secondary class that can go in here, but you don't want to create this selector train. You want to write it yourself. You want SAS to write that for you. So I'm going to put that note. I'm going to leave that note right in here. And so it's ampersand that represents the original selector, trip input, and then no space period, trip margin left. You are going to push left 0.5 rem. Save, refresh, and whoop, look at that. That's second input field has that special second class, that utility class, and it has margin left applied to it, half a rem, and it pushes left a little bit. And then flex. Flex first takes away that half a rem and then takes the remainder space and divides by 2. So it does a really nice job of making all that space work and fit. Rock and roll, coming down. We got two more. No, we got one more input field, one adult. I'm going to go back to HTML and just go back up and grab an input field about where to. And after my row, paste in how many adults. I'm not going to put one adult in. I'm going to let someone type that in. Save, refresh. But this is not going to be text. This is where you're going to have to type in one. Oh, they have one adult typed out in the input field. One adult. Never mind. So it's just going to be a text field for right now. Save, refresh. What I love about this is that class called trip inputs. We just use one class to stylize all those text fields, and they're all working because of one class. They're not technically working, but they look, visually they look like they're working. Last little field is the checkbox, and it's centered, and it has a checkbox field. And I think it's, without going to my browser right now, I think it's just input type equals checkbox. Input, I'm going to go down and just touch input colon checkbox. And after that, it's, let's use true blue points. Use true blue points. Save, refresh. Okay, but I need it centered. And how do we do that? A couple ways. I think the easiest way to be is add a class here. Class equals true blue checkbox. Okay, that's long. That's obnoxious, but we're going to use it. True, no hyphen blue. How about just true blue checkbox? Save. Come back to the form and do period true blue checkbox. Text align center. That will center all the text inside it. No, it won't, will it? Save, did I? I didn't hit save on my index. It's still not going anywhere. The plot thickens. Oh, because what I just centered was the checkbox, this little thing, but not the text. Okay, so what's really needed, I think, is a div called trip row, trip checkbox. And inside that is going to go an input field with a checkbox. Use true blue points. Trip checkbox. It's no different than what I just had, but it has now a div on the outside. And with that div, I can center both the input and the raw text after that. Trip checkbox. I'm going to copy that, come over here, and period trip checkbox. It's a mouthful. Save, refresh, and look what happens. They both go to the center because the input field is one thing and the text piece is a separate thing. And by wrapping one parent around them, all of the two children pieces get centered. Okay, with that said, pretty good. Here comes the button, and we'll do new baggage fees, and we'll do the rounded corners, and that's about it. And resurrect my font awesome SVG element in the top left corner. Form fields, I want you to push the button down. Form fields, margin, bottom, 0.5 rem. Save, refresh. Is that 0.5? Is it big? Is it big space? Oh, we'll do one full rem. 116. Margin bottom, 1 rem. Perfect. Save, refresh. Yeah. After form fields, we have a button. But just in case I have other buttons in this document, I don't want to just stylize all buttons inside trip. Granted, we only have one button, but potentially we could have other buttons. So I'm going to add a class to that button called search flights camel cased, so I can stylize this button individually without tampering or contaminating other buttons. Okay, search flights, you are going to have a background color of jet orange from the variable section. See, refresh. Look at that. It's going to be color white. It's pretty good. Font family, primary font, which is Arial, but soon to be Roboto. Font weight, bold. Bolden up, nice. How about padding 1 rem? 16 pixels on all 4 sides. How about big button all the way across? How are we going to do that? How about width 100%? Save, refresh. Awesome. It'll automatically put text align center in this because search flights is part of the trip parent. And the trip parent, no, I take that back. I thought the trip parent had text align center. Or did my main element have text align center? Who had text align center? Or maybe buttons automatically center their text. Yeah, maybe buttons automatically center their text inside them. Another thing, that button has a default border. Every button has a default border. So border 0. Save, refresh. There we go, no border on the outside. The cyan is bothering me now, so I'm going to turn off the trip cyan for background color. There we go. Fun part is the border radius. So border radius is on all 4 sides of the PDF. It's on all 4 sides of form fields. Border radius, border radius, border radius, but it's only on 2 things, 2 corners. Actually, no, there's actually a mini border radius. I didn't spot that earlier. If I get in super close, there's a mini border radius. There's a big border radius, normal one. There's a tiny one. That's sexy. I like that. To do that, well, first input form fields, light gray. The property is border radius. And I'm going to do 1 rem, 16 pixel border radius. Now I can see, look at it, border radius on all 4 sides of my gray form fields. But what about the button? And I looked this up. If you specify 2 values of border radius like this, I'm going to do 2 rem and 1 rem. Watch what happens. Save, refresh. The first one, 2 rem, is top left and bottom right. The second value is automatically top right and bottom left. So if you look at the PDF, we have just a little tiny and a larger value. So we're going to go tiny. We're going to do 0.25 of rem followed by 1 rem. Save, refresh. Look what happens. It gives us a little border radius, a quarter of 16, that's 4 pixel border radius, and then a 16 pixel border radius. So first value is top left and bottom right. Second value is top right, bottom left. And I guess you could put in 4 values if you really want to, and it's probably clockwise, top right, bottom left. Cool. Last but not least, our little footer, and then the body background color, yellow, can go to jet blue as well. Footer, footer region file, background color pink, text align center, font family, primary font. Okay, but it's gonna in the PDF, it's a anchor element for new baggage fees. So I need to go back to my HTML document and put an anchor element around new baggage fees. I'm not going to link to a page. I'm just putting in a default hyperlink with a hashtag for the hyperreference. It's not going to take the user anywhere. And I can now stylize footer A. I can say, hey, anchor element, you're going to be color white. You're going to be Old text decoration, that's fine. I think we're good. Save, refresh. Okay, turn off the pink. And turn off the yellow. All right, force the yellow foundation. Hey, yellow, why don't you just be jet blue until you're told otherwise? Save, refresh. Boom. I'm going to turn back on. I'm going to turn back on, what is it? Font Awesome, so that my top little icon works. In the future, I'll just download the SVG myself. Boop. And one small thing in the PDF that I noticed, there was a border dash bottom on header. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, see that? That's border dash. Ooh, there's like a border dash, not border dash shadow, sorry, there's a box shadow. Look at, there's a little shadow. If I zoom in super close, dark, light, 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 light. So that's it's called box shadow. And that's gonna go on the header. And I'm curious, can I just do a box shadow on the bottom? Probably not. But box hyphen shadow requires a few properties. The first value is the amount of X offset, like how far off do I want to move it. I want to move it 0 pixels on the X axis. I want to, actually I want to keep it 0 pixels off the Y axis. I just want it to glow a box shadow. And then third value is the amount of blur you want. And then the fourth value is your color. And we're going to do black, but super transparent, like 25% black. So you barely see it. Save, refresh. Is it there? Nope. I probably didn't do these properties correct. Let's go to W3 Schools and look up box shadow. Yeah, box shadow. Let's just take a crazy example and throw it in. You know what? It's not. For right now, I'm not going to fuss over this. We're going to do a border dash bottom 3 pixel solid, and then we're going to do, what is it? We're going to do RGBA, but for black 000, that's black in RGB, and then 0.25, 25% 3 pixel border. Save, refresh, and we get that. We're going to even, we're going to even go lighter than that so that no one barely sees it. It's going to be 0.1, 10% basically. Save, refresh, yeah, just a little. That serves the same purpose as that gradient, that little box shadow. Border dash bottom, 3 pixels thickness, solid, and then your new thing for colors, it's RGBA parentheses, and if I just take this away for 1 second, it's R, comma, G, comma, B, comma, A. And if you get black in RGB, it's 000, and then the A stands for alpha, which means transparency, and it goes between 0 and 1. So if you do 0.1, that's equivalent of 10%. Save, refresh, and 10% border dash bottom right there. Look at that. Cool. Whew, that was a lot. Not too much, 450. It's an hour and a half or so, a little bit more. Any questions? Slack. Are you guys still with me? Did you guys fall asleep? Kelly, you probably fell asleep. Linda, Karen, Eva, anyone? Give me a thumbs up. Message me a thumbs up that you're good. Any questions for or some clarifications or anything like that? There's a few more things you could do with this. I was reading yesterday on my own. I want to use input type equals date. There's a date picker. But believe it or not, Safari and Firefox do not use input type equals date. They don't render it. They don't use it. They don't even acknowledge it. And it's almost like WTF, Firefox, Safari. Why can't you use input type equals date? Let me show you what input date looks like. It's kind of cool. Scroll down to my little input select date. Just by switching it to type equals date, I'll just do it on one. Save, refresh. Whoa, look at it. It builds you a little date picker. But it's the browser that does it. And Safari and Firefox don't do this. Just Chrome and some other ones, which is complete bullshit at this point. But so instead, they recommend doing some other things with JavaScript and jQuery to get a date picker to work correctly. So right now, we're just going to keep it as an old-fashioned text file. And my whole website is stalling because my internet connection stalled again. And Kelly, yes, border, cleared it up. And of course, input field, or is Font Awesome failing me again? Font Awesome, you know what? I'm just gonna go, I've probably downloaded this in my downloads folder, but if I go back to icons, this is not gonna, see resolve host, it's not working. But in my downloads folder, I have bars hyphen solid somewhere, or solid bars. Yeah, I have it. I have this SVG 1,000 times. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take this SVG. I'm gonna bring it over to my current project folder, module 2, JetBlue images, and paste this in. Get rid of the little parenthesis 1. And I'm gonna fix it myself and get rid of the link to Font Awesome and go right in here and say, hey, menu BTN, you're not coming from an I element, you're coming from an image element. Images slash bars hyphen solid.svg, menu icon, save, refresh, and it's big inside that. Oh, we got some more work to do. We have header, menu BTN. Ooh, what we're going to do, I'm going to no longer using font size because that's with Font Awesome. Line height we'll use, I'll make a smaller width and height, 30 by 30. But we'll put padding 1 rem around it. Let's see what happens. There we go, not too bad, not the greatest. And then how do we change it to white? Well, color white's not working because it's the SVG is in the image. We can't do that. So I got to go into bars solid myself, find the opening SVG element, which is here, and I'm going to add my own fill attribute. This is on the opening SVG element. There's a lot of attributes that I had to plow past. Granted, I can just take fill if I really want to and put it in first position, make it easy on myself, and do hashtag FFF. Save, refresh. Oh, and this path is being filled with current color. Get current color out of here. Just save, refresh. Still doesn't want to go. You son of a bitch. What do you want? Bars, solid, fill. Let me put fill at the end. I don't know. Save, refresh. There it goes. I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of funky class. No, I don't know why that would not work correctly. But anyways, it is working correctly now. And now I'm not tethered to whether Font Awesome loads correctly or not based on my home internet connection for whatever reason. Okay. Any other questions and concerns? Cool takeaways, in my opinion, is watching Display Flex in action. I love this icon bar. And Display Flex made them all centered. We put a little margin between the LIs. I love Display Flex up in the header. The menu icon, the JetBlue logo, and the sign-in are all spread out because of Display Flex and that space between, justify content space between. So cool. I didn't, you'd think you would have to do like, take the logo and apply a special margin left, or take the sign-in and do a special margin left. And now Display Flex is like, I got you. I can just distribute the space for you. Other than that, any other remaining questions? Well, I'm going to be on Slack from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to zip this up and submit it to Google Classroom Module 2 for you guys to use as reference. Please don't use it as like a thing that you just copy and paste and put it into your own project and call it your own work. No, use it as a guide. Use it as a reference. Maybe if you're stuck on one exact thing, maybe pop open my code and see exactly how I did it. And this is, like I said, this isn't pixel perfect, but it's pretty close. If you were to do this on your own, I would be super happy. But now that you've seen me do it, hopefully you can take away a few more extra things about HTML and CSS and put them in play and expand your own knowledge about how things work, how like borders work, how hovering works, or how Sass works. Look how organized Sass is over here. Well, it's a mess over here in my text editor, but look how nice and organized. Now, if you were to download my files, or if I had a coworker open up my files, they would have a good idea on how this is all structured out, and they could add to that themselves without too much work. Okay, wrapping up. This is Jeff signing off. This video will be posted for archive purposes. Check me out in Slack. If not, I'll see you tomorrow night at 5:30. We have a networking guest speaker from 5:30 to 6:30, and we're going to be working on Syracuse.com prototype from 6:30 to 8:30. All right, have a good night. Thank you.